Hi everyone, listen, when we are talking about Microsoft Teams rooms, a couple of things immediately stand out. First of all, we tend to think about Microsoft Teams room devices from manufacturers such as Poly and Logitech. And on the other hand, we may be thinking about the actual cloud service being provided by Microsoft. But there's a massive element from this conversation that might be missing, and that is the fact that you need to have some sort of managed service to support the devices to make sure they are running reliably. I brought with me today Fredrik Westin, my colleague who's responsible for our managed services offering. And together with him, we are going to be looking at some of the sort of key elements customers who are moving down the MTR route should be looking for when they are examining or evaluating managed service providers. Now, the reason this is important right now is because Microsoft has recently changed their licensing model for Microsoft Teams, going from a standard and premium model to a basic and pro model. And what that means in practical terms is that more and more customers will be relying on an external third-party managed service provider to make sure those endpoints are running correctly. So Fredrik, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Rasmus. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Listen, if you are an enterprise-sized customers out there and you are going down the MTR route and you've done all the due diligence, you've had a look at the best hardware available there, you've purchased the support services from the vendor, there's obviously warranty on the products. Why the heck should I now need to buy additional managed service? I mean, I have a pretty solid setup, don't I? Or?
Yeah, there is. If many customers today moving from the traditional SIP devices that they have had for ages, the legacy systems, and they got used to how they are working, how they are configured, and so on.
Yeah.
And if you compare those SIP devices with the Microsoft Teams rooms, what we are talking about right now, it's requires a lot more IT skills and a lot more competence regarding the complexity around these systems. And frankly, there's not many IT departments or IT services that have this expertise or knowledge to deploy and support these systems and install them.
Yeah, because how can you have expertise and knowledge if you haven't done it before? It's kind of natural, of course.
Exactly.
So could you give me some sort of examples of where someone like Elisa Videra can help customers with this specific thing when you're lacking the knowledge?
Yeah, for the biggest thing is that when you look at it, it is that the biggest challenge for the customer is that they look at an MTR, they see it as a video collaboration system, or they look at it as a PC, because
Yes.
it is a PC-based system. That's what we know. But
Which is quite natural,
yeah,
right?
so they think that they can manage it the same way as they manage their company's PCs, what their workstations and so on. But that is quite far from truth. Yeah, so because it requires a lot more, it's a lot more complex, and it requires a lot of skills of being able to network optimizations, troubleshooting, onboarding skills, and so on when it comes to these systems.
So even if you have really, really competent IT people, and I see no reason why you wouldn't have, what role would a managed service provider be able to play in enabling these IT people to support those devices as much as possible?
Yeah, first of all, like any good provider is like what we are focusing on is
Yes.
that remove as much as possible of that pain from customer. We come in with expertise. We know how they work. We know how to set them up.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like a couple of typical pain points that the customer have is the people related costs. So we have 24/7 personnel that can help. The second one, what I could say is like they want to have a quick turnaround from the SIP device to the MTRs. We can give with our expertise on provide with global delivery and installation services. We can help them with that.
So speed and potential people cost reductions. And I think the interesting thing about the people cost reduction here that springs to mind is, of course, the fact that you may have people who are really, really skillful, but it takes time to adopt and really get into knowing a completely new architecture. Whereas if you're relying on a managed service provider, they would have a multitude of customers already, and they would have acquired and generate a lot of knowledge that you can then apply. Is that correct?
Yeah, we already know this stuff.
Yeah.
And then also that one thing what customer wants to have is that they want to have a room that always working.
Yes.
And for example, any good provider like us We can provide like proactive monitoring. We make sure that the system is working. Even when it's not in use, we can identify issues and we can fix those before it happens. We keep it running. So it's reliable. We can make it reliable for the customer.
Yeah, I think a lot of customers are looking at the purchase price of the hardware and perhaps not taking into account the cost of the hardware not working. So those are the most expensive devices that you bought, and for whatever reason you can't use because of who knows what the problem is.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we take a couple of steps back and we start looking at the wider picture and perhaps casting an eye to how things were before, and you talked about SIP devices, and there's one thing that is kind of interesting to watch, and that's how the evolution of these devices, that once upon a time where you had the codec, you had the camera, you had the screens, you had the remote control and lots of cable, how these traditional vendors moved towards more integrated devices where you had the camera and the screens and the touch panels and the microphones and the speakers. Everything was built into one system. And I think we all kind of got used to that.
Yeah.
But this is very different to the MTRs. Before, you had one SKU, you had one support ticket to look after, you had one product number, and in God forbid, the device would break down. You had one RMA process to deal with. That is different with MTRs.
Yeah.
Today, at least.
Today it is, yeah, because we are taking a step back.
Yes.
I mean, we are Windows-based systems, and there's many components in it. It's not just a system is not just one component, and it's not just one vendor. And there is a lot of cables involved, and it could be different boxes, control boxes. You can have a table box, you can have a screen control box behind, and then you have a lot of USBs, HDMI cables going everywhere, and that is like really challenging to troubleshoot and set up. And also, if you take the example you got with an RMA,
yes.
if the system has a problem and you need to replace a merchandise, you can have a Logitech camera, but you can have the PC could be from Lenovo or from Dell or from Intel, whatever they are now. So it's always different vendors, and that is what we can help with. We know when we have delivered something, we have the vendor communication and a partnership with the vendor, so we can quickly do this RMAs, get them replaced when they are broken.
So the challenge, if you don't know the system, you don't know what the problem you should be looking for, i.e. you may not know which part needs to be replaced.
Exactly, and because of the complexity, it's hard to troubleshoot it. I mean, there are so many different places where it can go wrong, and that comes also with the experience and the expertise on knowing the systems, how they're working. We're
kind of running out of time here, but I want to make sure anyone watching this has some specific, really important key takeaways. Any advice you would like to give anyone watching this?
Yeah, first of all, don't look at the MTR as a PC.
Yeah.
It is, in a managed service point of view, is totally different. So you should treat it differently. And then also, when you are looking into the service, selecting a managed service, you need to look into your prioritize. What are you looking for? Is it cost? Is it short response time? Is it expertise? Or is it a combination? When you know these priorities, then you also know what kind of service you are looking for. And then the third one is like, if you want these systems to work, you pick a preventative care, preventative managed service is the most cost effective. Because the systems will be up and running, and we will fix the issues before they actually occur. So you will save a lot of money on that.
So that's really the wet dream of any managed service provider, to be able to call the customer before they even know they may have a problem coming up.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed sharing this, and I hope anyone out there enjoyed the conversation. Listen, if you are interested in getting in touch with us, we do recommend that you follow us on LinkedIn because we are posting this type of content on a regular basis. So thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.